Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. What I'm going to do, kind of same as always, I've got some things that I want to update you on and some things to talk about, and then I will save plenty of time for questions. And Todd will handle the questions because it's really hard for me to do two things at once. So this way I won't have to. So I want to begin with kind of an extensive update on chess and where we are, where we've been, and where we are going to go. And I was sitting here thinking about it, and I feel this way myself too. I feel like I know a lot about it, but there is so much that I don't know because the depth of this project is just immense. And so there are people on our campus who know way more about the technicalities of what we're doing and what things are going to look like than I do. But I kind of want to just sort of, give you a little bit higher level update and then let you know that there will be loads of training available and required for all of us. So just to start out, our go live date for finance, HR, and payroll is still December 17th. We are on target for that date, and we are in budget for that date. And those, either one of those is pretty astounding. Both of those is almost unheard of. And so I really want to thank the team working on these projects. There are a lot of great people from Santa Fe Community College who have been leaders in this project. Amy Pell has been a leader in this project. And when I say has been, I mean still is. Mindy Watson has been a leader in this project. Laura Mulry has been a leader, Erica Keppel. And then of course, Corey Bergen has really kind of been the glue that's pulled it all together. I almost hate mentioning names because I know I'm going to forget somebody critical, but there are lots and lots of people that have been involved. So I'd like to tell you a little bit to remind you a little bit of the structure. And I'm doing this because those of you who will be working on the student side of this beginning very shortly, it'll take you a while to really get this. It's still, we go through these growing pains where it takes everybody a while to get this. So what Chess really is a nonprofit that has a board of directors and a CEO. The CEO is Kathy Ulibarri, who used to be the executive director of the New Mexico Independent Community Colleges. Before that, she was a vice president at CNM, and then she's done a lot of other state finance jobs. So the board of directors is comprised, all of the presidents of the institutions that are in Chess are members of the board of directors. I'm chair of that board, I think, because I've been here a long time in the state, and one of my jobs is really in the beginning. San Juan was kind of like a 0.5 member for a while because they had some serious technical problems on their campus that they had to take care of before they could officially join. They did that. They're in. So San Juan is a member, and then we have voted in Mesa Lands and Luna. So what this means is that, so we are not connected to the higher education department in New Mexico. We are, they do not have any kind of jurisdiction over us. Now, we do run some items through their budget. They've helped us with funding and things like that, but they don't have any oversight of this. So sometimes when we talk about Chess, I've heard a lot of people, and this has been going on for 3 or 4 years and will continue to go on. People get nervous that we are creating a system. And I suppose it depends on how you define system. And as we've had this conversation in our board meetings a few times, we call ourselves a collaborative because that's the way we view our work. So we all have one vote. It doesn't matter. CNM has no more votes than anybody else. We all have one vote. We have an equal say in everything that we agree to do. But so what this means going forward as you're working on chess projects which most of you will do, and those of you who are in finance, payroll, and HR already know this, is that we have project managers who are directing the work for different campuses other than their own. So Erica Keppel, member of Santa Fe Community College, works for Santa Fe Community College, directs work at Santa Fe Community College, also directs work at Northern New Mexico College, sometimes at Clovis Community College. So she will be basically bossing people around on other campuses and asking, making sure that they meet deadlines and that work is completed on time and is done well. That can also mean that there could be a project manager from another campus who is doing that same thing for Santa Fe Community College. And that's a really weird thing to get used to. It's kind of scary sometimes, but I think that we have established a high level of trust in this group. And so if you ask the people who are deeply involved in chess, those people from finance, HR, and payroll, they will tell you that the people from the other colleges that are working within their work stream are the people that they work with every day, often into the night, definitely on the weekends, and they will definitely be doing it during Christmas break. That has already been established. And that's so that we can meet our go live date on December 17th. But this is a really new structure for all of us. It's actually a new structure. It's a new national model. So these kinds of things happen in states all the time where the state says you all will form a system and you all will get along with each other and you all will, share a common ERP and do all these things. We voted to do this independently. And so we have agreed to do this because we think it will be better for the students of New Mexico and ultimately for the colleges in New Mexico. And so that's just, you may think I'm making, like going into excruciating detail on this, and I realize that I am, but it really is important because it's what makes this group so different. You can't, HED is not directing us, LFC is not directing us, we are directing ourselves, although we do need their money. I will admit that freely. So very soon, we will have a common payroll for the Wave 1 chess colleges. That is being designed and developed now. There has been a payroll director, I believe she's called, that has been hired. Her name is Adrienne Griego, and she works through the chess office. The chess office is located nowhere. It's fully remote. And she works with the payroll staffs for all of our colleges. And so we will still be able to do our own payroll functions ourselves, but everything will be run centrally. One thing that I want to mention now, because I'm just so excited to say this, we have issues sometimes with getting people paid on time or not. People do special work and they're supposed to be paid on a certain date, and sometimes things get messed up. I can honestly tell you that every single payroll problem that I have seen has been the result of something called a PAN. It's a piece of paper. It's an online form now, but like 8 people have to sign it. And so for you to get anything, all these people have to sign that. And so sometimes what happens is when we had the real paper, it would fall off a desk. Somebody wouldn't see it under a stack of things. It still gets lost in online files. It slows everything down. It is going away. So as the new Workday payroll and HR models roll forward, there will be an entirely different system for how people are paid. And I mean, you won't see it, you still get your check every 2 weeks in your account and life rolls on. But the processing before that is going to be very, very different. Anything that employees will have to do, we will all receive pretty extensive training for. There is also a training officer who has been hired through Chess. Her name is Trish Heaton. And she is crafting the schedules for all the training that people are going to need to do to be able to use the new system. So basically the first real activity that Chess did was we have purchased Workday. So that means that Banner will go away. Now that will be a fairly lengthy process. It's not like we plug Workday in and then we don't have Banner anymore. We're going to have to run two systems for a couple of years. That was all part of the plan. But I want everybody to know that, that's kind of a heavy lift in all of this implementation, but it's absolutely the best way for us to do this and to develop a system that works for us, that has all of the features that we want. I'm not saying that nothing is going to be wrong with it, but we're trying to develop the best system that we possibly can. So the training that's offered will be offered both in person and online. There will be a lot of options for everyone. Some of it will be mandatory, some of it will be optional. It's entirely dependent upon what your job is, what you need to use in the system, and all of that kind of good stuff. When we developed Chess, one of the things that every president involved here and every governing board who approved this project and signed off on it, what we all wanted to make sure of is that we are able to economize, create efficiencies on things that we can, like payroll, some HR functions, some finance functions, but that we are able to maintain our unique cultures as community colleges. All of us are independent community colleges. We all receive money from our communities. We all have the character of our communities. And so we want to be able to maintain that. And one of the things that I have seen about Santa Fe Community College over the past however long we've been doing this, but it's just been so much more pronounced and so much more intense in the last few months, is the tenacity and the dedication of the teams that have been working on Workday during the inception of the project. So I've been reminded it's not a contest. I'm not making it into a contest, although I think the Chess people have made it into a contest. But our payroll teams finished first out of all of the colleges in the collaborative, and they had an almost 100% accuracy rate in the testing. And so I can't tell you how proud I am, not just that, I like to be number one, so I have a tiny bit of a competitive streak about some things. But what I'm really the most proud of is the way that our team has handled all of this with so much willingness to succeed for the college and for our students. So I don't even know all of the gory details of the hours that they've had to put in and how they get, they've had tasks thrown at them at the very last minute, and people at Workday are bossing them around and telling them what they have to do and when it has to be done and how it has to be done and all these kinds of things. And I don't really have any say in it, except that I support your work and I hope that, this gets better soon. Well, it's about to get a whole lot better for them, and we're about to have a new ERP system. But I just want you all to know how hard they have worked and what they have given up in terms of their weekends, their evenings, and most of their time to be able to do this. So I couldn't be prouder of you all and what you've done. And what I have noticed is that there is a distinctly Santa Fe Community College approach to doing this work. And I'm not trying to say that we're better than everybody else or anything like that, but I do feel like our folks have really been able to pull together and work around a lot of the weirdness of working with other colleges and getting to be part of various teams, and really be able to meet the deadlines, and not just meet the deadlines, but do the work really, really well. And then to reach out and help our partner institutions when they need help, because maybe they don't have our resources or they just haven't been able to get things done in the same way. So this is the model that we've set for the student implementation that we are going to be beginning very soon. So the student teams have started talking and meeting and trying to figure out what, how they're going to work together. That's a huge part of success in this project, is figuring out how we're going to work together. It's hard enough to work with the people that you like the best on campus and you feel like you work the best with. But imagine a lot of people from another college. There's always a little bit of that hesitance, like, are they going to steal our secrets or anything like that? But really, it has been a true collaboration, and it's working better than I thought it would. Not that there haven't been roadblocks that we've had to work our way through. So now presidents are meeting again to talk about what are the projects we really want to work on for student. Where should we try to integrate our colleges to provide a higher level experience for our students and a better environment for everyone. So one of the first things that we have been talking about is common reporting. And that may sound like a really boring thing unless you're, somebody like Barb Sandoval or something like that who, really has to do a lot of reporting. But the whole idea is that we have to do federal reporting, we have to do state reporting, everybody has to do it. We should collaborate, we should share our data with security, on it. And make sure that we can free up our IR staff for doing projects on our campus that are not federal compliance stuff, because that stuff takes a huge amount of time. No one wants to do it, but we have to do it. So we will probably end up having a CHEST reporting office at some time. The other thing that I have been part of conversations in this state for at least 20 years, I am almost embarrassed to admit. And that is having a common application for all the colleges that are within CHEST. We tried to get a common application for all the colleges in New Mexico. Most states have this. It's not like it's some kind of, radical idea. It's pretty standard. And so we want to have a common application. We will have, as common as we can, registration processes, a common student identity, so that when someone enrolls as a student for Santa Fe Community College, they will also be enrolled at Northern, at CNM, at Clovis, at San Juan, at all of those places. So that means we are sort of intentionally creating a little bit more swirl and through our systems than what we've normally had. But we want to create an ease for students in being able to complete on time, so that if they are a major in an area at Santa Fe and we don't have a class this semester, they can take it at San Juan and still complete on time. Everybody will have identified like a home institution where they are degree seeking. It's not that, it'll be a complete free for all. And all this is in very preliminary stages. So I just kind of wanted you to know sort of where we were thinking. So because we have so much to do still before the end, and we're at the end to meet our December 17th deadline. You all are aware that there is going to be I want to say freeze, and in that it's not a totally hard freeze, but a kind of hard freeze on hiring that will start on November the 4th. HR has hired more people in the last month than maybe ever. It's like, I told them this morning, it was like a hiring bonanza or something, but everybody's trying to meet that deadline to get people in before we slow things down considerably, so that we can not be overloading ourselves and we can really complete what we need to with Workday before we do go live. As we are thinking about having a system that incentivizes and helps students complete degrees, certificates, whatever their goals are, sometimes their goal is to take one class. Sometimes it's to take, a really short-term certificate, whatever. I want to kind of give you a little bit of a foreshadowing, I'm going to call it, for what I think LFC is likely to be moving towards it. It's certainly on their minds. I'm not going to predict what they're going to do, but it's on their minds. They've been talking to us about it in terms of the way that our funding works. So, right now we say that we have performance-based funding. It's really not performance-based funding. It's like a tiny percentage of our funding that we get funded on for completions. It's mostly still an enrollment-based funding model from 2012 that's going to stop. There's no way they're going to continue it. But what they're looking at is a true performance model, kind of like what Texas is doing. And what that means is that we would get funded for when students complete something, a degree, a certificate, whatever, and not just when they complete a course. That's a big change for us. And for a lot of us, that would be a really good move. And I think that it ties into the rationale behind what we're doing in Chess in terms of making sure that students can complete as quickly as they can. And students will still have issues and reasons that they have to stop out. That's going to happen. We work with them as much as we can. That's going to be that's going to be something that we always have to struggle with students. But what we don't want them to do is take longer because we can't offer a class that they need in a timely manner. So in those instances, we'll assist them by helping them go somewhere else for a class or something. There will be conversations about this model, and so we will pay attention to it and see what happens. This is not going to happen in this legislative session. My guess is nothing will change in this legislative session much. What we are also pushing for is more funding for non-credit training, or actually to put non-credit training in the funding formula, which is still a pretty big lift for our state, and so I don't think it can probably get done this quickly. But New Mexico, NMICC had a conference a couple of weeks ago where we brought in other states and legislators and people who are interested, leaders, to talk about the value of non-credit training and to look at ways that we can work it into our funding formula. So, that it's an important thing because a lot of the major employers in our areas are looking, they're incentivizing this route for hiring. And it's one of those changes to our way of doing business that we have to adapt to. And sometimes when I, think back, 20 years, it seems crazy, but here we are. And right now, I can honestly tell you that Santa Fe Community College has been in a stronger revenue position because of all of the non-credit training that we are doing and all of the contracts that they brought in and all of their work that they're doing across the region and really across the state. So kudos to Chris and all of her wonderful folks for what they've been doing. But we're going to see more and more of this. I mean, our ultimate goal is so that non-credit training could be funded on an equal weight with credit training, and that, classes would be in there and, they'd all get equal funding. This is where HLC is going to. So this may take New Mexico a while, but ultimately this is where things are going to go, and we will be ready for that. So the other things I want to mention about meeting with LFC a couple of weeks ago, besides us trying to lobby them on non-credit funding, there's going to be a lot more money in the state budget this year. Once again, they are prioritizing non-recurring projects. So we will be asking for an appropriation for Chess, which we do every year, and we've been getting pretty significant appropriations. But they will recommend, and they're very likely to fund some kind of compensation increase. I honestly have not heard a number from LFC. And so, but I assume that because right now anyway, our state funding seems to be very stable and strong, that it will not be one of those tiny ones like 1.5 or 2 point or something like that. So I don't know if it'll be as good as it was last year, but I hope that it will be. And I think that it'll be, in the 5 and up kind of category, but, don't hold me to that. This is just my prognostication, which is not worth that much. But as I find out more about that, I will let you know. We always have a December budget hearing with LFC in early December, and usually their analyst will kind of give us a little bit clear indication of what they're going to recommend at that time. And so I'll let you know as soon as I know anything. The last thing that I want to talk about before I open this up to questions, and we can talk about whatever you want to, I want to give just kind of a little bit of an update on the multiple measures project that a number of you have been working really hard on, and just to kind of give a little bit of a review on how we got where we are right now. About a year ago, I believe it was in November, I convened a task force to make a recommendation for how Santa Fe Community College could implement multiple measures. And for those of you who don't work with this kind of stuff every day, basically to figure out a way for the college to place students into classes without relying exclusively on the AccuPlacer, on the exact AccuPlacer score that students get to look at things like high school GPAs, other test scores, different things like that. And so we convened a task force that was mostly faculty from, departments like math and English that would, have a little bit bigger stake in this, somebody from advising. And I asked Josh to chair the committee, and I gave them a deadline. I do want to say that the board has been, I don't know if pressuring is exactly the right word, but depending upon the day, I think pressuring is okay. And they have told me to make that clear to everyone. So the board has been pressuring me to get on this since I came. The first meeting that I had with our board in 2019 was in July, the same month that I came here. One of our board members who had been a former community college president told me all this, said we need to get this changed. And so I started, looking into it, studying it, figuring out what was going on. And it was very clear that a lot of work had been done, a lot of good recommendations had come forward. And so we should use those recommendations to figure out what we're going to do. So I gave the task force a deadline of January 2022. Originally, what I had wanted or hoped for is that we could implement whatever they came up with in this fall, so that when students started registering in April, they would be under the new placement guideline. That's a pretty tight deadline because that's the thing about fall, registration starts in April. So they met their deadline. They came up with recommendations, got them to me in January. I thought they were very good. I sent them to Faculty Senate. Faculty Senate, Faculty Senate, in all fairness, that did not get them immediately because it took me a little bit of time to kind of sift through what they were suggesting. And then I wanted Faculty Senate to take the time they needed to sift through them, wade through them, and deliberate. And so they gave me their feedback in, I believe it was like early May, late April, and their feedback was very good. And it was good in the sense that there were no substantial issues with what the committee had proposed, and also some really good suggestions about, ways to educate students about what we were doing and how to talk to students, and some very helpful suggestions like that. So obviously we were not going to be able to get this started in fall. And so my goal had been to try to get it started in the spring. Now, there had been a little bit of pushback, I will admit, from some of the original committee members, because I think they thought, they were trying to keep this in sync with the Guided Pathways Initiative, which it is, but placement is placement. It's not Guided Pathways. It's placement. It's trying to figure out where students should start in the math or English sequence and whether or not they need to take a reading class. And so the recommendation from the task force is that we mostly use high school GPAs, and that if students place below, if they have below a 2.6 high school GPA, they would take a co-requisite model of English, or the math departments kind of come up with their own very, very robust initiative. And then there is a very significant redesign going on right now The English department chair, Kate McCahill, is kind of spearheading that work, and they are revising the developmental classes in English and reading, so that students will have a much more succinct path if they test well below that threshold, and they clearly need developmental education. There will always be students, I believe, that clearly need developmental education. They'll benefit from it, and they will be able to have another class. One thing that I want to mention too is that I am on the Santa Fe Public Schools Redesign Committee, and the other people that have been pressuring me besides our governing board have been the public schools in Santa Fe. And I don't mean like the whole school system's been pressuring me, but I know Veronica Garcia quite well, and I've worked with her for a long, long time on different projects back when she was secretary and everything. And when I met with her for strategic planning things, she mentioned this issue as the single most important thing to Santa Fe Community College and our relationship with Santa Fe Public Schools. So I told her that we were moving forward and that we had a committee. They came up with recommendations. The recommendation was that we were using high school GPAs for the most part, and that most people would be able to go into the college level class or a co-requisite model. I don't think there's much we could have done to make them happier. The superintendent is really pleased, and this is not about pleasing them, believe me. It's about giving an opportunity to kids who have not been able to take they have not been able to take general education classes because of our placement requirement, because there's no dual credit funding. There's no mechanism through dual credit for them to take any kind of developmental classes if they were so inclined. So I am very grateful and very proud of the work that the task force did, that the implementation team that Jim Wysong led did, and that the faculty have been doing all along to get us to this point. The reason that we could move so quickly on this is because the work had already been done. It's not like we had to stop and reinvent this whole thing from scratch. The work had already been done, and we took the work that had been done and just, gave it a little nudge so that we could be where we need to be. And one other thing that I want to mention about this, and this is something that honestly didn't even occur to me until maybe a year ago or so, as we're a member of CHES with all these other colleges, we have to, somebody asked me one time, well, if we do this, why would somebody want to go to Santa Fe Community College instead of CNM or Clovis or whatever? That's an important thing for us to keep in mind. And so we want to make it to where students want to come to Santa Fe Community College as much as or more than they want to go to any of those other colleges. And, granted, we have great classes and great faculty, so we have provided our own incentive for students to want to come here, but we also don't want to throw up obstacles for them. And we want to be consistent with what other colleges are doing to make it easy for our students. So I feel like this is such a tremendous step for us in fulfilling our mission as a community college that really focuses on student achievement and student learning. And so I want to thank everybody who's been working on this over time and recently. And we will collect data as we go along and see what happens. Other than that, I think those are all of the big things that I wanted to kind of update you on and make sure that, everybody kind of has the same information. And then, Todd, if there are any questions that anybody has, I would be happy to, if I can answer them now, I will. And if I can't, I'll go look up the answers later.
Thank you for that, Becky. I have a quick question while people warm up their mice for virtual hands, but the midterm elections are coming. The college has a small but important stake in the back of the ballot measure, Bond 3, not to be confused with Bond C. Would you mind just talking a little bit about Bond 3?
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that. I should have done that. So as Todd said, this is a general obligation bond year in our general election every 2 years. So Santa Fe Community College has $2 million of capital money in this project. It is for HVAC improvements. So part of that has to do with ventilation. It really has to do with improving our system so that we can have better ventilation. It's important for us to get this funding. It's a statewide project, and it is number 3 instead of C, which it has been in the past. I also want to give a shout out to the library bond, which I believe is B. And there are, I think somebody told me they try to always make it B for books, which is easy, which is nice. But there's money that it's distributed by a formula. I'm not exactly sure how much the Santa Fe Community College Library would receive, but all the public libraries, school libraries, and academic libraries in the state will get additional funding for books, materials, and things like that if this bond passes. So it's really, really important, because for a lot of libraries, they do not get anything much beyond what they get through bond money. And so we want to really support that too. So I encourage everyone to vote and to remember those bonds. It's really important for all of us. So thanks for reminding me, Todd.
Thank you. Thanks for that summary.
$75,000.
Yeah. Okay. So Sarah posted $75,000 plus for SFCC
Great.
Library.
Fantastic. That's good.
And the New Mexican editorial endorsed these today. So historically, Santa Fe is very favorable to these collaborative bond efforts, which, we come together with colleges and universities from throughout the state to do these things. And the library has their own group. So don't forget about the back of the ballot. Those are very important.
Right. It's really important.
Thank you, Sarah. Brian asked in the chat, is Chess based on a platform like PeopleSoft or Salesforce, or is it fully custom built?
It's Workday. So Workday has that ERP function. Now it may integrate. I know C&M uses Salesforce, and I don't know if they will continue to use Salesforce. I did find out today, we're just starting to kind of, people like Corey are way ahead of me in the game on some of this, but in looking at some of the functionality that we're going to get for the student side in terms of course scheduling and things like that, and there is actually a very robust feature for all of that in there. So we will have CRM features. It is possible that Chess may decide to collaborate for more of a platform for that if we all decide that that is the best way to move forward. But really Workday has those features built into it too, which is one of the reasons why we went with it.
Now, you may have touched on this earlier. I apologize if I missed it, but the first phase of this, which has been significant, has really been in those areas of HR, finance,
payroll,
and now but there's kind of a second or a next phase. Is that correct?
Yes. And the next phase will take longer. It's going to involve way more people. So the first phase involved a lot of people, but it was kind of restricted to people in the finance in those areas. Now, I do know that there have been the other people, that we've also had leadership through our IR team under Barb has done a phenomenal job in getting us to this point, because you don't think about it, but behind all of this, there's a huge data conversion project. And that's part of the reason why we have done so well, is that our data was good and we were able to make the conversion a little bit more smoothly than some of the other schools. But as we get into student, so now we're talking about the student data. So all of our enrollment data, all of our, registration data, all of these things will be they'll be the focus of what we're developing so far. So there will be faculty involved, there will be deans involved, there will be people from every student services office that are involved in this. And in fact, I know that Thomasina is already meeting with some of her counterparts from Clovis and CNM and I think Northern, just I think as much as anything to kind of get to know each other, because that's a huge thing. It's almost like, you're going to a new job or something like that. And now you have these new people that you're working with, and you have to build that relationship and that trust.
Marcy asks, will students be able to earn a degree entirely online? Will students, let's see, to earn a degree from one college have a maximum credit load from other colleges to earn, say, an SFCC degree? Some specifics
Yeah,
in that.
so that's an interesting question, Marcy, and some of that, I would say we will have to work out, and those will be things that there will be recommendations from, like our registrar's office and groups like that. So right now there is a lot. Most colleges, I think, have a rule where a certain number of hours need to be taken with that college to get a degree there. So you can't transfer in your whole degree from another college and then take one class at Santa Fe Community College and then get a degree from Santa Fe Community College. But we may, that'll all be up for discussion, and I don't know where we'll land on there. But as far as getting a fully online degree, you can kind of do that now with all of us, depending upon what you want to study. But it really, when I say that you can take courses from other campuses, I think, I am talking about maybe picking up a class or two online from another college. When you need to do that, it's certainly not, it would be allowable, just probably not very practical to say, okay, well, I'm going to drive to Albuquerque 3 days a week and take 2 classes at CNM. It'll be really easy registration wise to do that, but my guess is you're going to want to do that stuff online. And a lot of this is going to have to be driven by student demand. We're still figuring out what that looks like. Do students want stuff online? Do students want face-to-face? What do they want online? What do they want face to face? And that's what's going to drive what we offer. And I think I could answer that question for any other college.
Thank you. The press release from the higher education department today it talks about that New Mexico college enrollment is grown by over 4%. In first increase since 2010, it says. It credits it to the Opportunity Scholarship, and also mentions that it's the second highest enrollment increase in the country. Thousands more New Mexicans pursuing college and career training. What are we seeing at our college that is our college trending in a similar way?
Yes, almost exactly that. Yes. And so we have had about that much of an increase in head count, a little bit of an increase in FTE. And, we've still got a long ways to go, as does every other college in New Mexico and probably mostly around the country in terms of getting back to pre-pandemic levels. But it's so great to be trending in that direction, which is fantastic.
SJ in the chat wrote, when will so out of all due respect, when will faculty voices become a part of the larger discourse of chess? How do you see our role influencing the trajectory of its growth?
Well, that's a good question, SJ, and I honestly don't have the answer to that. And I can tell you that I am pretty far removed from how this scheduling, how that will be scheduled. You know, honestly, Erica's probably going to have the answer to that question before I will. So the preliminary meetings will be, fairly high level in terms of looking at the kinds of, like what's our registration experience going to look like, and what should we do with financial aid? Are there things to do with financial aid compliance or whatever that we should collaborate on, and what should that look like, and all that kind of stuff. So that will be worked out. And so my guess is it'll be a while before there would be anything that would be probably something that would affect faculty's roles and everything. I do want to mention, and SJ, particularly since you asked this question, that there was an issue a question that came up the other day in one of Kathy Ulibarri's question and answer sessions about equity. And it was very interesting because it was brought up by, I'm pretty sure this person worked at CNM and was a student services employee of some type. I'm not exactly sure, but they were saying that they have worked really hard to make equity at the center of all of their processes and procedures and the way that they move forward. And so they didn't want to lose that in chess. And this person was concerned. Nothing is even, we haven't even had any of these conversations yet about how this is going to look in chess. We're still trying to finish the ERP, the first part of this. But I think it's good that those issues will be front and center in all these conversations going forward. So there may be opportunities for faculty to collaborate on and to give input in those areas. And part of it depends too, a lot of what people have been doing now, and anybody who's working on this, correct me if I misspeak, is, they're actually building the system. And so there are a couple of different phases of this, where there's a planning phase and phases where, we give input and figure out, like, how do you all do this? This is how we do it. How about, what if we looked at it doing it like this, and then Workday's there and they're like, this is best practice, this is what we recommend. And then they, kind of come up with something. So there's that. And then there's the actual inputting, working with the data and building the whole system. And so I would assume that in that collaborative phase, but faculty are never going to be involved and have the kind of day-to-day work that the people who are actually building finance, payroll, and HCM had to do in terms of just creating that system. It's going to be more of, how should these programs work together and things like that. And that work is down the road a bit. Like, I would say maybe down the road a year.
Before I move to Kate, Sabrina asks if I want to take a class at another college, will my EEB work?
I don't know. That's something that we should probably look at. At this particular moment, it wouldn't, but we could make that change if we needed to. So that would be something, Sabrina, if you will, keep that on your, bring that forward. It's something that we should consider.
Kate, can I call you forward?
Yes, I wanted to say my question on video, if you don't mind, because it's a little bit of a longer question. Hope that's okay. Not super long, Jim. Don't worry. So hi, everyone. Hi, Dr. Rowley. It's great to see you all. I just wanted to ask a question about the multiple measures initiative. Thanks so much for that really comprehensive update. Frankly, that's more information than I've heard about the multiple measures initiative than I've received so far. And so I think we all are really grateful for that in this context. I just wanted to first share a little bit of information and then ask my question. The last update faculty did receive at Faculty Senate with regards to multiple measures was on February 11th, when we reviewed the task force's recommendations together as a group, as you described, and then we did share our feedback with you as you discussed. On March 25th, according to our records, we were informed that a project manager had been appointed for the continuation of the initiative, and also that there would be more opportunities for faculty feedback. We were also informed that the project would include the appointing of point people from math and English. The next comprehensive update to faculty arrived on October 5th when you, Dr. Rowley, announced via email what the new placement measures would be, broadly speaking. In less formal ways, faculty learned that one aspect of the multiple measures initiative would include eliminating English 109 as a prerequisite for over 50 classes across the campus. English 109 as a class would be eliminated entirely and permanently from the catalog as well. Sad, rest in peace, English 109. I imagine that the CHESS initiative has taught us a lot about communication across campus, and my question is, I'm curious about what these lessons may have been and whether and how they might be applied in the future with regards to, for example, the evolution of the multiple measures initiative and the curricular decisions that affect us all. Thanks for listening.
So those are some really important points, Kate. And so first of all, I will tell you that there is a communications team in place for CHESS, and I think they're doing a great job. But it has not been without missteps, where they've had to learn, and part of it is learning, who needs to know what and how soon they need to know what, and that is something that that we'll continue to work on. And so usually somebody at the CHESS level crafts messages. We kind of customize them a little bit at the college level. There are some things that I send out to everybody, and then there's some things that I will just send out to, like the HR team or something like that, depending upon what it is. So one of the things I do want to say about the multiple measures piece is that when I will say that I pushed to get this done in the spring. And I thought that waiting a whole other year was hurting our students. And so we had the recommendations. Now, the other thing that I will tell you, and this is my maybe lack of as much familiarity with courses and everything as certainly as you all have. So when the original task force recommendation came through, it was, for how to place people, how to place students into, English and reading, let's say. So their original recommendation within that, and I didn't quite get this in quite the explicit terms that we now know, that English 109 was going to become obsolete. Now, that didn't mean we were going to take it out of the catalog or whatever, but we just did that because, or we're going to do that. I don't even know how exactly how that process works, so I don't want to misspeak on that. But what's going to happen is that no students are going to get placed into English 109. We could leave it out there, but there's not really any sense in doing that, because if we're allowing students to take a co-requisite model, if they don't have a 2.5, then we're saying that we're not putting anybody in English 109. That's really and that's what that's what the whole thing said all along. I don't think it explicitly said, therefore, we won't be placing people into English 109, and perhaps it should have. But there was not a change in what that was going to do. And so what I'm looking forward to now is what you all are developing now, which sounds like, a great course and a great solution to really assisting students who really need some sort of developmental education to get them on their way. So I really appreciate your work I'm not sure who else is helping you with that, but I appreciate your work.
Okay, I just realized that it was 4:25. And that leads me to believe that we should probably wrap this up. I'm gonna give you well, thanks for participating in this, and let's do it again soon. And Becky, do you have any just parting thoughts for us?
I just want to say once again that I appreciate the work that everybody's doing. I don't know about everybody else, but I sort of feel like the past month has been sort of a blur. And when I feel that way, that generally means that that there's just a whole lot going on and that things are moving quickly. things are moving quickly and there is a whole lot going on. And I know that that creates pressure for everybody, for me included. Things are changing pretty quickly, and there are a lot of things changing. It's hard to keep up. It's hard for me to keep up. It does create points of friction and it can be uncomfortable, but I feel like we're doing such great work for the college and for our students. And we're making sure that Santa Fe Community College continues to excel and be a top-notch institution. And I thank all of you for that. So I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm so proud of the work that Santa Fe Community College is doing. And I hope everybody has a great rest of the semester. And as always, if you think of questions later that you forgot to ask or whatever, just let me know. But thank you all for being here today too.
Thank you, Becky. Okay, everybody, stay warm. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.